Big brother, after all these years, you're still this stubborn. I suppose this time when you return to the Dragon Clan, your goal is nothing more than to unite the Dragon Clan, and then, with the power of the strongest among them, try once again to save the world. But have you ever thought about it? Relying on the strength of just one person to save the entire Great Thousand World is nothing more than a fool's dream. And even though the Dragon Clan has many powerful beings, would they really be willing to follow you, risking life and death? Your actions, without a doubt, are disregarding the Dragon Clan's foundation built over countless years. Do you really want to be the savior? Looking at the pitiful state of the Golden Dragon King's body, the Silver Dragon King's voice grew sharp, like that of a madman, consumed by a crazy obsession. The Golden Dragon King remained silent, fully aware that during the first great war of heaven and earth, he had led the Dragon Clan, with the Phoenix Clan joining forces with the Xiao Clan, and gathered the might of many in the Great Thousand World to barely repel the forces from beyond. However, the cost had been devastating, but even so, he felt no regret. This world they depended on for survival still required their protection. If everyone only sought comfort and ease, how could they protect this world? They would only face destruction. After all, the power of the extraterritorial evil clan far surpassed that of the Great Thousand World. If everyone were as pleasure-seeking and cowardly as the Silver Dragon King, then what would be the point of the Great Thousand World's existence? A mere ant cannot understand the ambitions of an eagle. The Golden Dragon King shook his head, undeniably. All your decisions have only pushed the Dragon Clan to the brink of destruction. Savior? Save the Great Thousand World? What a laughable idea. Why not surrender your essence to me? Under my leadership, the Dragon Clan will undoubtedly become the strongest force, replacing the center of the human realm. When that time comes, I will fulfill your unfinished wish and completely annihilate the extraterritorial evil clan, offering your spirit a tribute. After a moment of silence, the Silver Dragon King showed no hesitation. Her profound gaze locked onto the Golden Dragon King as waves of pressure, powerful enough to shake the heavens and earth, emanated from the whirlpool behind her. Clearly, this was her true intention. At that moment, a faint, disdainful smile appeared on the Golden Dragon King's handsome face. Beneath that smile, an indescribable magic began to spread. The Silver Dragon King, a woman of insidious and vicious nature, with a narrow mind, could never understand the Golden Dragon King's sense of justice. Did she truly think that by devouring him, her strength could shake the extraterritorial evil clan? How laughable. Back when the Golden Dragon King had temporarily reached the semi-god level, he, along with the Saint King and the strongest of the Xiao clan, Xiao Tianming, had barely repelled the leader of the extraterritorial evil clan. Now, with the Second Great War of Heaven and Earth on the horizon, after countless years, the leader's power would surely be even more terrifying. And under the Golden Dragon King's smile, the pressure emanating from the Silver Dragon King was slowly crushed. She, too, realized the truth. The Golden Dragon King's strength was not to be underestimated. The entire void fell silent as the two figures stood at odds. Meanwhile, the purple-haired maiden, since stepping into the void, had been intently staring at a jade box on the Golden Colossus. The aura inside seemed to resonate with a power within her, and in the depths of her soul, she felt as though an ancient voice from the jade box was calling to her. Within the Dragon Clan, this voice had a special name, Dragon God. She carries the mottled will of the Dragon God within her. But if this continues, you'll destroy her. After a brief silence, the Golden Dragon King glanced at the Silver Dragon King's side, where the purple-haired maiden stood, then shook his head. With his abilities, even a casual glance revealed some secrets. The purple-haired maiden also carried the bloodline of the Dragon Clan within her. Though faint, that trace of dragon gods had been absorbed by her for some unknown reason, making her position now nearly equal to the 9 great Dragon Kings. After the fall of the Dragon God, his essence split into the 9 great Dragon Kings, with his corpse and spirit forming the Dragon Bones and Dragon God's will, placed within the Dragon Tomb. Gaining any of these was enough to cause a dramatic leap in the bloodline and power of those dragon clan branches with mottled bloodlines. It seems, with your wisdom, you've figured out the full story. But it doesn't matter, because here, this will be the end of your life. The Silver Dragon King had completely controlled the purple-haired maiden, so she no longer feared any sudden change. Moreover, the Silver Dragon King had been planning for this grand occasion for 1,000 years. The preparations she had made were beyond the imagination of ordinary people. The Golden Dragon King did not respond. He had long known of the Silver Dragon King's ambitions since the first great war of heaven and earth, but because they both came from the same origin, the Golden Dragon King naturally couldn't bring himself to harm his kin. What he hadn't expected, however, was that his initial mercy had led to the current catastrophe of the Dragon Clan. Now, the Silver Dragon King's strength, somewhere between the 9th reincarnation stage and its peak, coupled with the young girl by his side carrying the Dragon God's will, made even someone as powerful as the Golden Dragon King take notice. Currently, his power was greatly diminished, his dragon body destroyed, and his dragon bones nowhere to be found. He simply could not contend with two opponents at once. If he were to lose, it would likely mark the end of the Dragon Clan's peace forever. By the way, since you've already guessed my plan, let me tell you a few secrets. Your subordinates. I've kept them here, in this void. Do you know where their corpses are? A sinister smile suddenly appeared on the Silver Dragon King's delicate face, as if recalling something amusing. After speaking, a mocking glint flashed in his silver eyes, and he quietly observed the Golden Dragon King. You mean? As the Silver Dragon King spoke, the Golden Dragon King's pupils narrowed. He turned sharply and stared at the dragon bodies and bones floating in the void within the Golden Colossus. Faint, almost imperceptible ripples emanated from them. Though weak, the familiar aura within them instantly struck fear deep into the Golden Dragon King's heart. Long Qing of the 9th reincarnation stage, Long Hao of the 9th reincarnation stage, and the Holy Dragon Armor Army that controls the Dragon Abyss, these three, your most loyal subordinates, are now before you. But don't worry, soon, you'll be reunited with them forever. Ha ha ha. Seeing the Golden Dragon King's face twist with a mix of fear and rage, the Silver Dragon King mocked him with great pleasure. At the same time, her elemental power began to surge and gather. Clearly, in order to avoid any prolonged struggle, she had decided to erase the Golden Dragon King right then and begin her grand ceremony. Everyone, I'm sorry. In that moment, the Golden Dragon King felt an intense, twisting pain in his chest. Even breathing became difficult. These were his most trusted generals, those who had fought alongside him through life and death. Their bond had long surpassed that of mere comrades. Yet, in the years he had been absent, the Silver Dragon King had wiped them out. This left the Golden Dragon King filled with an overwhelming sense of guilt and rage. Enough of the nonsense. It's time to send you on your way. With me leading the Dragon Clan, Big Brother, you can rest easy. In the next instant, a blinding energy light flashed from the Silver Dragon King's palm, filled with an overwhelming surge of elemental power that was nothing short of devastating. Devastated with grief and weakened in power, the Golden Dragon King felt immense pressure from all directions, a chilling sense of death closing in. Yet, in his golden eyes, a crazed gleam began to flicker. Even if he had to die, he would never let the Silver Dragon King bring disaster to the Dragon Clan. Suddenly, radiant golden ripples began to rise from the entire void, and under the power of these ripples, even the very space seemed to tremble. Master, you must not. Just as the Silver Dragon King thought victory was assured, and the Golden Dragon King was about to risk everything in a last-ditch effort, an unprecedented roar erupted from the many shattered dragon bones atop the Golden Colossus. Grr, what is this? Along with the roar, the blood in the Golden Dragon King's veins, already boiling, surged with astonishment. A massive golden light shield suddenly erupted in the void within the Golden Colossus, gathering the scattered bones in an instant. They rapidly moved and shot straight toward the Golden Dragon King. The golden light shield was filled with the overwhelming pressure of dragons, containing an indestructible, boundless power. The Silver Dragon King's gaze tightened as she sensed a powerful, stirring wave emanating from it. Under the protection of these powers, it seemed as though some new, nascent force was gradually awakening. That's the lost divine artifact of the Dragon Clan, the Heavenly Dragon's divine incubation shield, ranked 7th in the human realm. As the bones and shattered fragments slowly began to piece together under the light shield, two slightly ethereal figures emerged from the void of the Golden Colossus. The Silver Dragon King's expression became one of utter shock. Boom! With a thunderous crash, the shattered dragon bones immediately reassembled, forming two complete figures. The dragon's blood and aura surrounding these figures caused the Silver Dragon King's eyes to twitch violently. These two figures were not unfamiliar to her. After all, their downfall had come at her hands. The supreme elder of the Dragon Clan, Xiao. But weren't they captured by themselves, with their souls and bodies completely destroyed to absorb the dragon god's power from the Golden Colossus Tower? Why are they resurrected now? Shock and confusion flooded the Silver Dragon King's mind. Behind them, there was a pile of shattered, dim bones that couldn't be pieced together, radiating a fluctuation far more terrifying than the one emanating from the two figures themselves. Xiao, Long Yuan. Looking at the two figures that suddenly came back to life from the Golden Colossus Tower, the Golden Dragon King's voice trembled uncontrollably. Dragon Lord, you've finally returned. But we cannot bear such great honor. The two exchanged a glance, quickly approaching the Golden Dragon King. However, their faces were serious, as if there was something unspeakable. What exactly is going on? After confirming the identities and auras of the two, the Golden Dragon King hastily asked, after all, this scene was truly astonishing. The Silver Dragon King learned of the existence of two sacred artifacts in the Dragon Tomb from the ancient records of the Dragon Clan. She tried to persuade us to join her side, but when that failed, she secretly captured the three of us. Using our dragon bodies as a foundation, she forcefully constructed a void passage between the Golden Colossus Tower and its tip. With our original power, she resisted the erosion of the heavenly forbidden boundary, hoping to open one of the jade boxes and absorb the two sacred artifacts. However, when trying to absorb the dragon god's will, the Silver Dragon King was tortured by its power, nearly causing her to perish. Her body and soul were destroyed, and the fragments of dragon gods she spilled out were all absorbed by this purple-haired maiden. After the Silver Dragon King was severely wounded, she fled here. But Long Qing sacrificed his body and soul to protect us. He has already perished. This is the final remains of his body, condensed into the Source Phantom Dragon Bone. When the crisis came, it was Long Qing, using the power of a divine artifact and his own life force, who protected our final essence of power. When you just attempted to attack the Golden Colossus Tower, that fluctuation completely awakened the artifact's power, which is how we were revived. At the end of the explanation, the two Dragon Clan powerhouses felt guilty and pushed a piece of dragon bone, faintly glowing with eerie light, and a divine, ancient aura radiating from a sacred light shield, toward the Golden Dragon King. The Golden Dragon King stared at these two items, his anger simmering for a long time. Even the dragon god's power couldn't bring you to your end. You're truly lucky. What I didn't expect, though, was that this Dragon Clan artifact was in Long Qing's hands. This is truly an oversight. Upon seeing these two appear before her again, the Silver Dragon King was somewhat surprised. During the years when the Golden Dragon King was absent, the Silver Dragon King secretly eliminated the Golden Dragon King's faction's powerhouses. Initially, it was just to claim the position of Dragon Clan leader, but after learning of the Dragon God's power in the Dragon Tomb, her thirst for that power became almost insane. She secretly captured the Golden Dragon King's subordinates and forcefully used their dragon bodies to fill the void in the Golden Colossus Tower, helping her seize the Dragon God's power. But the void in the Golden Colossus Tower was cursed. Anyone who touched it would be obliterated, body and soul. Unfortunately for the Silver Dragon King, she was still at the 9th reincarnation stage at that time and had yet to reach the peak. So, When she reached the top of the Golden Colossus Tower and tried to absorb the dragon god's will from the jade box, her dragon body was instantly vaporized by its power. At that moment, the purple-haired maiden happened to be present. Her power suddenly detected a rare mutation, attracting the dragon god's will, which could have killed the Silver Dragon King. After a strange struggle, the spilled dragon god's will was entirely absorbed by her. Afterward, the Silver Dragon King realized that everything atop the Golden Colossus Tower was extraordinary. Only by reaching the peak of the 9th reincarnation stage could one be qualified to touch it. So, after the Golden Dragon King returned to the Dragon Clan, the Silver Dragon King set a trap, slowly forcing him into it. When the latter tried to absorb the dragon god's power, the Silver Dragon King intended to kill him and combine his power to push herself to the peak of the 9th reincarnation stage. At that point, with the sacrifice of the woman she had chosen as a puppet, she planned to absorb and devour the 2 dragon gods' artifacts. At the peak of the 9th reincarnation stage, combined with the 2 dragon gods' artifacts, she would be powerful enough to challenge the Do Shun. After that, the entire world would bow beneath her feet. Now that everything is clear, it's time to settle the score between us. The Golden Dragon King's expression was grave. After a moment, he suppressed the endless fury inside him, exhaled a deep breath, and reached out to grasp the dragon bone and artifact, slowly absorbing them. As he controlled the immense power, killing intent surged in his eyes as he slowly fixed his gaze on the Silver Dragon King. This scoundrel was guilty beyond measure. Today, he would die without a doubt. Feeling the enhancement from the dragon bones and the artifact, the Golden Dragon King's battle strength now barely allowed him to fight on par with his opponent. However, the Silver Dragon King simply smiled slightly, as if everything was under his control. Although the appearance of these 2 individuals had caused a slight disruption to his plans, such obstacles would not change the outcome of the battle. This was a fight that could never be lost. This is the final battle. The Golden Dragon King looked at the distant Silver Dragon King and nodded slightly. He was well aware that the clash between the 2 would shake the heavens and earth. As soon as his voice fell, his golden eyes gently closed. In that instant, a vast ocean of golden light erupted from his body. The golden ocean, stretching thousands of miles, completely filled the space. A terrifying destructive power, surpassing the heavens and earth, permeated throughout the ocean. Despite the grandeur of the scene, the nearby Golden Colossus remained completely unaffected. As the golden ocean surged, the Golden Dragon King's body transformed into a mighty golden dragon, coiling within it. His scales glittered, and a domineering aura that seemed to look down on all life radiated out, accompanied by a terrifying dragon's pressure that made Long Hao and the others involuntarily worship him. Let's make our move. Now, this is the only way. Seeing the Golden Dragon King's overwhelming display, Long Hao and the others exchanged glances, and immediately vast waves of reincarnation power surged from their bodies. In that moment, their spirits stirred, as if transmitting a faint soul message to the Golden Dragon King, as though plotting something. At the same time, as the powers of Long Hao and the others stirred, they resonated with the void's power within the Golden Colossus, as if they were activating some ancient power within the Colossus. Elemental Sacred Power, Dragon Lock Platform. Faced with the Golden Dragon King's furious attack, the Silver Dragon King wasted no time and responded without hesitation. A torrent of silver light erupted from his body, accompanied by a crisp dragon's roar that resonated, shaking the countless energies within the Golden Ocean. Above the Golden Ocean, a faint silver light platform, barely a few dozen yards in size, appeared intermittently. On the platform, a delicate and small silver dragon coiled, and within the dazzling silver light was a terrifying power that caused the surrounding void to crack slightly. Even the massive Golden Ocean was violently boiling under its influence. It's been so many years, and you're still this self-righteous. Sensing the Dragon Lock platform above the ocean, which contained boundless elemental power, the Golden Dragon King smiled faintly. He naturally understood that, even with the blessing of the artifact and the dragon bones, he would never be the prepared Silver Dragon King's match. After all, this dragon bone was unsuitable for him, and the artifact's effect was to nurture and protect life, not enhance combat strength. His true purpose wasn't to confront the Silver Dragon King, but simply to draw the latter's attention and buy time for Long Hao and the others. Everyone knew that the dragon had 9 sons, each different, but no one knew that when the dragon god fell, he transformed into 9 dragon eggs. Only after hatching did the 9 legendary dragon kings emerge. Each of the 9 contained a trace of the dragon god's power, and only when one reached the peak of the 9th reincarnation stage could they combine the dragon god's power within them to absorb the 2 divine artifacts on the Golden Colossus and challenge the Do Shun. The reason he had followed along with the Silver Dragon King's plan was mainly because of the soul message from Long Hao and the others. They had an even crazier plan. Soon, this world will bow to me. When that time comes, the 8 great dragon kings will be wiped out, their bodies and souls destroyed. But because that fool, the dragon god, the 9 dragon kings won't truly perish after death. They will turn into dragon eggs, waiting to hatch in another life. But when that time comes, you will become the new Golden Dragon King. All your memories, strength, and everything will be erased. Such a pity, such a pity. The Silver Dragon King's smile gradually became mad and ferocious, but he paid no attention to the actions of Long Hao and the others. In his eyes, the biggest threat was still the Golden Dragon King. A pity? How could the Dragon Lord's decisions be as you wish? With our power, we will call upon the dragon. In an instant, Long Hao and the others shouted in unison, conjuring an ancient, ornate hand filled with chaotic energy. As the voice fell, countless ancient dragon runes appeared on the energy hand, which disregarded the strange power of the Golden Colossus void and suddenly pierced through the void, reaching for one of the jade boxes in the sky. Seeking death. The Silver Dragon King's face changed drastically. Seeing Long Hao and the others' combined attack, which was able to ignore the laws of the heavenly forbidden boundary in the Golden Colossus, he immediately became furious. Ignoring the Golden Dragon King, he flipped his body and charged toward them with overwhelming force. At the top of the Golden Colossus, 2 jade boxes, once firmly secured, were now slowly swaying, seemingly on the verge of falling at any moment. Dragon Lord now. In an instant, Long Hao and the others' faces flushed, as though they had used all their strength in their lives, gently twisting one of the jade boxes. To their shock, one of the jade boxes slowly descended from the sky under the force they exerted. Though the fall seemed simple, it carried a solemn, otherworldly energy that stirred up a tremendous uproar. "Give it to me!" The Silver Dragon King roared, his palm immediately striking towards the Golden Dragon King's massive body, attempting to hinder his movement. The terrifying Dragon Lock platform continued its descent, putting immense pressure on the Golden Dragon King. The Golden Dragon King rose into the air, weaving through the void, reaching out to snatch the jade box. The Silver Dragon Sword, entwining with the strange Dragon Lock platform, and pressed down on the Golden Dragon King with its dragon form. The immense suppressive force it carried was something the Golden Dragon King had never encountered before. Boom! The Dragon Lock platform collided with the Golden Ocean, and the loud crash reverberated through every corner of the void here. However, no matter how terrifying the Silver Dragon King's attack was, strong enough to bind a 9th reincarnation stage powerhouse, when it descended, crushing the Golden Ocean and shattering the void. A golden light shield and a dazzling pillar of light surrounded by dragon bones immediately resisted the tremendous suppressive force. That was the power of the divine artifact and dragon bones. At the same time, a golden streak of light shot out once more from the ocean, surging towards the location of the jade box. Ha ha ha! The jade box containing the celestial pivot dragon bone is mine. This is the end. As the Silver Dragon King neared the jade box, he twisted his hand first. The void around the jade box instantly collapsed, and a surging elemental power enveloped it in midair, rendering it immobile. The void shrouded in this dense elemental energy exuded an aura of endless danger. Even some 9th reincarnation stage experts would hesitate to touch it. For a moment, a maddened grin slowly spread across the Silver Dragon King's face. This scene before him was his ultimate goal. Boom! But just as the Silver Dragon King seemed on the verge of madness, a golden shadow flashed past him. Immediately, the void, once shrouded by elemental power, was crushed by a golden hand. The jade box, containing the dragon god's artifact, was seized. Rip! Radiant golden liquid spilled from the palm, and the hand reached into the elemental-covered void. At the moment of contact, the skin and bones of the hand began to melt, flesh peeling away, creating a terrifying scene. Even with the Golden Dragon King's current power, he could not resist the corrosive force of this elemental energy. His once broad palm was visibly melting. As he grasped the jade box, countless forces within the Golden Dragon King, his soul, bloodline, and every deep part of him, began to tremble in fear, and an intense burning sensation surged through his hand, as though he were holding an object that could lead him to eternal damnation. But no matter how much the jade box and the elemental energy tormented him, the Golden Dragon King's grim expression showed no sign of letting go. This was the last hope of the Dragon Clan. Golden Dragon King, return it to me, or I will bury the entire Dragon Clan with you. Watching the Golden Dragon King's desperate actions, the Silver Dragon King's eyes narrowed. His roar, filled with rage and humiliation, echoed. Beneath that fury, a trace of long-lost unease slowly emerged in his silver eyes. If the Golden Dragon King got his hands on this, with his talent and power, he would be invincible. The Silver Dragon King had once experienced the terrifying power outside the jade box. Back then, his 9th reincarnation stage dragon body and strength were easily obliterated in less than half a quarter of an hour, and he had no choice but to steal the elemental power from the purple-haired maiden nearby, transforming into her appearance. As for his dragon body, thankfully, with the presence of the dragon bones, it could be rebuilt over time. Now, seeing the Golden Dragon King's determination to hold on at all costs, it was clear he had made up his mind to risk everything. Humph! The Silver Dragon King observed the dense elemental energy around him, but the Golden Dragon King, clutching the jade box, continued to move rapidly. A crazed look gradually emerged in his golden eyes. If this continued, before the Silver Dragon King could act, he would be swallowed by the mysterious power surrounding the jade box. Whoosh! During his movement, the Golden Dragon King forcefully swallowed the jade box into his stomach. At the same time, an ancient, powerful aura began to emanate from within him. It was an emerald-colored halo. As it appeared, even the Silver Dragon King's eyelids twitched violently, and a wave of dizziness suddenly overwhelmed his mind. You old fool! Silver Dragon King's power. In the next moment, the sharp voice of the Silver Dragon King swept through the air, and immediately, a burst of multicolored energy enveloped the Golden Dragon King, sealing him in a tight barrier. An elemental aura that seemed capable of tearing the Golden Dragon King apart at any moment filled the air, causing his breathing to become heavy and strained. Let's see then, whether your elemental stripping is faster, or if I can absorb the Dragon Godbone quicker. If I win, your end will be one of eternal damnation. As soon as the words left his mouth, the Golden Dragon King's figure was bathed in dazzling golden light, transforming into a massive golden cocoon. The cocoon was even surrounded by an emerald glow, floating in mid-air as he began absorbing the celestial pivot dragon bone from the jade box. However, within the golden cocoon, clashes of golden and emerald energies flickered constantly. Clearly, absorbing such a dragon god artifact was no simple feat. At that moment, the Silver Dragon King let out a crazed scream. She hadn't expected the Golden Dragon King to be so cunning. Staring at the unbreakable golden cocoon, an overwhelming fury surged within her. The plan she had carefully crafted seemed to have been turned into someone else's gain. Xun'er, kill them? Furious and humiliated, the Silver Dragon King's eyes were filled with ruthless coldness, like a devil who would slay without a second thought. Her face twisted in a savage grimace as she looked at the two men, Long Hao and his companion, who were weakly collapsed on the ground far away. If it weren't for these two, resurrected from the dead, interfering, how could her flawless plan have gone so awry? A true man is born in this world. What fear is there in death? When the Dragon Lord returns, your fate is sealed. Faced with the cold killing intent pouring from the Silver Dragon King, Long Hao and his companion just smiled indifferently. It was as if they had already come to terms with their end. There was no fear in their eyes, only a rare sense of relief. When they had once fought the extraterritorial evil clan alongside the Golden Dragon King, they had never been intimidated, even by those far stronger than the Silver Dragon King. Now, how could they bow to her? Something's not right. How did you ignore the laws of the heavenly forbidden boundary within the Golden Colossus? Speak, and you may live. Instantly, the Silver Dragon King's agitated mind calmed slightly. She turned her full attention to the two lifeless shadows. Since they had revived, and just now managed to shake one of the jade boxes, they must have already uncovered the secrets of the Golden Colossus. Killing them was simple enough for her, but the heavenly forbidden boundary inside the Golden Colossus was a real challenge. Now that the Golden Dragon King had begun absorbing the celestial pivot dragon bone, if she couldn't acquire the dragon god's will from the other jade box, the battle ahead would likely turn disastrous. Kill if you must, but stop with the useless chatter. Neither Long Hao nor his companion were afraid of death. They completely ignored the Silver Dragon King's threat, their minds set on death. Elemental force, memory theft. Damn, there's nothing here. In an instant, despite the Silver Dragon King's attempt to probe their memories with her profound power, there was nothing in them about the heavenly forbidden boundary. Clearly, the two had been well prepared. Ha ha ha, Silver Dragon King, just wait for your doom. Even as the Silver Dragon King pulled out all her tricks, she found no way to succeed. Long Hao and his companion suddenly burst out laughing. Xun'er, can you take that thing down? After several failed attempts, the madness and arrogance in the Silver Dragon King's eyes slowly faded. Raising an eyebrow, she turned to the dazed purple-haired maiden by her side and gently asked, I don't know. The purple-haired maiden shook her head slightly, clearly unsure of how to deal with the power inside the Golden Colossus. At this moment, the Silver Dragon King's unease gradually grew. If she couldn't find a solution, she would have to use Long Hao and his companions' dragon bodies and primal powers to create a passage once again, climbing to the top of the tower. But doing so would inevitably repeat the same mistakes. However, I can give it a try. Seeing the Silver Dragon King's anxious expression, the purple-haired maiden gritted her teeth and spoke. Then leave it to Xun'er. The Silver Dragon King smiled with delight at her words. The purple-haired maiden had initially been a dragon maiden she had captured herself, intending to use her as the next dragon body to help unify the dragon clan. But not long ago, when she had rashly entered here, she had almost been obliterated by a trace of the dragon god's will. It was then that the purple-haired maiden's bloodline of the primordial ancient dragon had mutated, actually devouring that trace of dragon god's will. After that, the Silver Dragon King's perception of her had changed. But one thing remained unchanged. She would still become the best tool to help the Silver Dragon King absorb dragon god power. Her existence was only meant to serve the Silver Dragon King's rise. The purple-haired maiden's long purple hair fluttered gently behind her, and soon, a violet aura enveloped her. Her entire body stood within the void, stepping toward the Golden Colossus, each step resonating with power. The once destructive void, capable of obliterating all living beings within the heavenly forbidden boundary, was now eerily silent, with no attacks occurring. It felt as if the dragon god's will on the purple-haired maiden's body had neutralized all threats, allowing her to move through the void as if on solid ground, and faint calls echoed within the space. It's a good thing I left a backup plan. Seeing the purple-haired maiden in such a stance, the Silver Dragon King smiled broadly. Peel away from me. I refuse to believe that with my supreme power, I can't break this golden cocoon. As long as I can hinder your steps of devouring, victory in this internal strife will still belong to me. With a wave of his hand, the Silver Dragon King unleashed a continuous barrage of attacks toward the golden cocoon. The earth-shattering strikes shook the cocoon violently, as though it might shatter at any moment. Through some faint cracks, one could barely make out the Golden Dragon King within, seemingly on the brink of death, not at all resembling a devouring dragon bone. Instead, it appeared as though the dragon bone was backfiring on him. Ha ha ha. Big brother, do you really think the power of the dragon god's bone is something you can devour now? With your dragon body destroyed and the dragon bone that once harmonized with you gone, your strength is reduced to the 9th reincarnation stage. It seems this time, even the heavens are on my side. As he looked at the scene, the Silver Dragon King's grin grew more vicious. Peel away from me. Suddenly, a silver beam shot out from the Silver Dragon King's chest, constructing itself around the Golden Dragon King's cocoon. A pure, refined power slowly descended along the silver beam, emerging from the golden cocoon and infusing itself into the Silver Dragon King. This guy, he can actually bypass the protection of the golden cocoon and absorb the Golden Dragon King's power. At that moment, Long Hao and the others' smiles instantly froze. Your life's fire may not last until the Golden Dragon King is freed. Don't worry, I wouldn't easily erase you. After all, you've gone to great lengths to ruin my plans. I will make sure you suffer a fate where you can't live, nor can you die. Ah! Screams echoed through the heavens and earth. Just then, the temperature in the void began to rise, becoming dry and scorching, as if a blazing divine aura was breaking through the layers of space, rushing toward them at incredible speed. Master! Apologies, I am late. At the moment when the figures of Xiao Yin and his companions appeared in this space, Xiao Yin let out a loud roar toward the already near-death Golden Dragon King's cocoon, which had been attacked by the Silver Dragon King. It had been decades since Xiao Yin last saw the Golden Dragon King. The once kindly, powerful being who had treated him with such affection was now on the brink of death, with countless forces being drained by the silver beam, in imminent danger of losing its life. After entering the Dragon God Steel, Xiao Yin and his group had spent a lot of time breaking through illusions, which caused a significant delay. Anger overwhelmed Xiao Yan's pupils, and his rage was about to erupt, like a volcano ready to burst. Xiao Yin, do not be reckless. The Silver Dragon King is very strong, strong enough to be unstoppable. At this moment, Kailin did not let go of Xiao Yan's hand. Feeling the immense fury rising in his chest, she suddenly grasped his trembling body, trying to restrain his reckless actions. While Xiao Yin had extraordinary talent and power, when facing the Silver Dragon King, a being who had stood atop the world for countless years, there was still an insurmountable gap between them. The Golden Dragon King is my master. Now, in a near-death state, if I don't intervene, I fear all those in the Golden Dragon King's faction within the Dragon Clan will perish here. This battle cannot be avoided. Xiao Yan's anger surged relentlessly in his eyes. We understand, but if you go now, it's no different from sending yourself to your death. The two women exchanged a look, fully aware of the dire situation. There was no time to waste. She must die. Xiao Yin tried to compose himself, but even from afar, the aura surrounding the Silver Dragon King made him tremble uncontrollably. Even all the power within his body seemed to fall into a quiet, frozen state. It felt as if standing before him wasn't a young maiden, but an incomprehensible giant. The difference in their strength was of an entirely different realm, from completely different worlds. It was like an ant that had lived in a well its whole life, suddenly emerging to the vastness of the open land. The gap between them was so immense that it shattered Xiao Yan's perception of reality. Don't you understand his temperament yet? Seeing Kailin's unusually serious expression for the first time, Yun smiled gently. But before Kailin could speak, Yun immediately activated the blood within her body, channeling an immense force of reincarnation into the flower goddess mark on her forehead. The once dim and lifeless flower goddess mark began to stir, as though shaken by the dragon god's power emanating from the distant golden colossus, or perhaps by the call of Yun's blood. An ancient and ethereal, seductive phantom began to emerge from the mark, slowly materializing behind her. The figure was blurry and illusory, like a mere shadow, yet it was surrounded by countless blooming flowers, giving Yun a clear sense that this was the true form of the flower goddess. However, Yun didn't know whether the flower goddess mark was being influenced by the so-called dragon god's power or another force. At this moment, the flower goddess mark on her forehead was providing an endless supply of reincarnation power. This power was unlike any normal reincarnation. Though ancient and immensely powerful, this force did not resemble the divine essence of the so-called divine dwellings. Compared to the Silver Dragon King's power, it was nearly on par, but it seemed to lack certain divine attributes and essence that divine dwellings possessed. 10-colored heaven swallowing python. Facing such a grand spectacle, Kai Lin exchanged a glance with the 10-colored serpent spirit in her arms. The serpent spirit quickly blinked and then obediently curled up in Kai Lin's palm, reluctant to leave. "Little one, I need your power." Kai Lin leaned her beautiful face closer to the 10-colored serpent spirit and whispered softly. The 10-colored serpent spirit seemed to understand her intentions, glancing towards the distant Silver Dragon King and then at Xiao, instinctively sensing the enormous threat. It began to coil its delicate snake body, gradually merging into Kai Lin's soul, starting the true 10-colored fusion. In an instant, a colossal, 10-colored serpent, surrounded by the brilliance of its scales, quietly coiled behind Kai Lin, staring intently at the Silver Dragon King. Its scales shimmered faintly, radiating an overwhelming, violent power that could shatter the heavens. Flower Goddess Phantom, 10-colored heaven swallowing python, endless flame alliances Xiao, quite the grand spectacle. Seeing this display, the Silver Dragon King finally shifted his focus away from the Golden Dragon King. A cold smirk spread across his ominous face.